Good afternoon again from Central Virginia. Today's gloriously blue sky, hardly a cloud in it, and I'm back out to work on clearing and cleaning and prepping more on other garden bed for the winter. The bed I'm going to work on today is my most experimental no-dig bed. Back in April, I planted some blueberry bushes and some blackberry bushes. And to do that, I had to dig out some sod. And what I did is I just put it in a long strip upside down on the ground, straight on the ground. My thought was that eventually I would maybe begin that as the beginning of a no dig bed in the future. But then I decided, well, why not just do it now with a modified Ruth Stout method? So what I did was I took that, after that strip had been sitting for about 4 weeks or so, I just covered it with a layer of hay, and then I widened the bed to about 4 feet wide by just putting big chunks, blocks of hay down alongside. Then I planted directly into the center strip. I just parted the hay and I set some melon plants, 3 cantaloupes, and 1 Seminole pumpkin into the bed. I figured they were just extra plants, and I thought, well, maybe they'll grow. Well, they didn't just grow, they took off and really were productive. The cantaloupes that I grew, each plant harvested several very large melons, and they were just delicious. And the pumpkin plant was incredibly prolific as well. So it was a success. So now I'm on phase 2, and that is to clear this out and top it off and build it up as a root stout bed for the coming season. So let's take a look at what we've got. You know, there's so many methods to build a no-dig garden, and I'm not wedded to any one. I really like to experiment with different methods and see how they work. So in my previous video, I just showed you my little about 4x4 pumpkin patch it's more like a 6x6 pumpkin patch that I made in a strict root stout method, and I topped it off. And so this particular so I would say the experimentation is part of the fun for me in gardening, just to see what will work well. This strip runs is about 4 feet wide, and I suppose it's about maybe 12 feet long, maybe a little bit longer. And you can see now that I put this trellis up to catch some of the vines. You can see the leftover vines that are there. This particular cage trellis was just to support a random wild seeded tomato that grew there, and I didn't want to pull it because it was a nice plant. Now you can see in this bed that there are some weeds that have sprung up, particularly these persistent wild onions. Now I'm going to be just covering this space. These are very hard to get rid of, and honestly, I don't really think they hurt that much. I don't really see that many other grasses or anything like that. Well, here's a weed. Oh, and here's a little bit of grass here. The weeds seem to be coming out of the spaces that I had actually planted into. You can see these wild onions. I think those are edible, but I don't think they're particularly tasty when you've got real onions growing as well. So I'm going to just start by clearing out these extra old excess vines. You know, I think I'm just going to leave this fence up. And the reason I'm going to do that is I may want to use this as a trellis next spring. It might grow something like some tomatoes at first, maybe some peas, although the deer might get that. I'm going to go ahead and pull out any other little blades of grass that I see coming out, or not much of that. Mainly it's the wild onions. So that tomato plant was really just a volunteer, and it ended up harvesting, giving us bountiful, they were the purple bumblebee cherry tomatoes, and they were quite tasty. I'm going to leave the roots in there to help feed soil life. Keep that soil aerated. In the springtime, when it's ready to plant, this entire bed will be ready to plant, not just the strip down the middle where the sod was, because the hay will have had a good chance to decay. So what I'm just going to do now is put additional hay over this. The outer sides are pretty good, but I'm going to fill it in just a little bit more. Get some more of these vines out. Could anything be more simple than this? I was pleasantly surprised at how it worked, how fertile it was. And I suspect it'll just continue to get better and better and better and better as it decays down. I dig down under here. Oh yeah, you can see the soil that was under, the sod that was turned under. All those roots and things right there will just continue to decay and be very rich. Kind of like a composting situation. So just like the Ruth Stout bed, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to fill it up with hay like I did the other one. I just pulled down a new bale of hay. Actually, it's not new. It was delivered this summer. And I want to show you something because some people would kind of freak out if they saw something like this. When I turn the bale on its side, it has this kind of cottony stuff on it, and that is perfectly okay. That's mycelium. And that is just starting to break down the hay. It means that the composting process is underway. Let me show you from the other side, and you can really see what's going on. See how it's all over this hay bale. Nothing, absolutely nothing to worry about. And you can see that it is starting to, it's very wet in the center, and that is where it's going to begin to compost out from. So this is why, one of the reasons why you use the spoiled hay. Now I am going to go and get a mask because I don't really want to be breathing all this while I pull this apart. This hay was just cut, I believe, in June. Delivered to me in, I believe, September, maybe October. No, September, I think it was. I'm just filling in along the sides, especially where it's composted down more, not quite as thick. Put a bunch in there. I probably am going to have to take out that trellis because it's going to be in the way. I can always put it back up. I put it down thick in this area, like in big blocks when I was building out the sides of this bed because I wanted to kill off any grass that was growing underneath. Once this bed is established, then you know, wow, you can really grow anything here that you want to grow. You'll be amazed when you come back in the spring how much this composts down. You may wonder, can you plant into this right away? Well, obviously not right now. It's not the time of year to do that. But when I planted this spring, and if I were going to plant something into this right now, which I'm not, I would actually part the hay pretty deeply. I would take a good handful of compost mixed with some potting soil. Just put that down in there and let the roots establish in that. That worked for me in a couple of other spots. So that's pretty much all there is to it. I am just going to, I'm going to be probably getting mowing and weed whacking around the edges. I may extend the bed all the way to the existing walkway. It's a work in progress, but I think that's what one of the fun things about gardening is. You get to experiment and you get to try new things, and don't be scared to ditch something if it doesn't work, or maybe something just has a use for 1 year and that's okay. But this is like a modified Ruth Stout bed, and I made use of all that sod that I dug out. I worked hard to dig it out, so I might as well use it to make a nice garden bed, especially as the roots and things composted in place right there. So thank you very much for joining me. Thanks for watching. I hope you're well. Take care.